everyone, thanks for stopping by again. I hope you had a great Halloween last night and you enjoyed the Nikita Kucherov a career video. Thanks for everyone who came by and commented and gave some suggestions, and I'm really looking into over the next few days completing some of those, including Eric Lindros, Chris Letang, and I'll likely do a story or the story of Sidney Crosby. Alright, so this is going to be my first basketball segment. And again, I explained yesterday about the playlists, how they work. So this is going to be put under a new NBA playlist. So again, if you go into the channel and you look, after this video is up, you'll find a new playlist called NBA. And so this first video is, I think it would be fair for me just to start off with the team that I cheer for, which is the Toronto Raptors. The Raptors had a really good season, and they, again, just pump out another 55-plus win season. Actually, they would have had 55 wins, but they had the pause and everything, so it was 53. The Raptors this year had, in 2019-20, a 53-19 record, which was good for second in the Eastern Conference behind the Milwaukee Bucks. Earlier on in the season, it was a little back and forth, like a little more back and forth with the Milwaukee Bucks, and a lot of people thought that the Raptors could catch them, but there was just a point in the season where the Bucks really turned it on, and there was no catching them at that point. So the division and the conference was for the Bucks. There was no catching them. And so we're just going to go over quickly the 2019-20 season before we get into the future of everything. Just want to go over the stat leaders just like I do for the NHL videos. The points per game leader is who you'd expect, Pascal Siakam. He had 22.9 points per game, so 23, and he carried the offense for the team. There's games where he would successfully get past those 23 points and blow up for like 40, but he is the focal point of our offense now. Assists leader comes with no surprise. Kyle Lowry had 7.5 assists per game. He's still the main ball distributor. He's still the guy that runs the plays and finds who he wants to run it through. For the most part, it's through Siakam. Rebounds, it's actually not Pascal Siakam, it's Serge Ibaka, because he's picking up all the garbage that comes off the rims, whether offensive or defensive rebounds. It rounds out to him having 8.2 rebounds per game. And he has always been a really good rebounder. He can have games where he could approach 20 rebounds. He's had some really good performances in that way. Although a couple years ago he was a little better at getting higher up in the points, getting more double-doubles, but now he's mostly there to get those inside shots. And he's playing a little bit more like how he was when he was first brought into the league, but he's definitely still a stretch four guy. And also, Serge Ibaka did lead, although he didn't have a lot of points per game, he did lead the team in field goal percentage. So 51.2 from the field. And the steals leader for the team is Fred VanVleet, 1.9 steals per game, so 2. Him and Lowry are up there together. It always seems that they're the ones that are challenging the guy at the top of the three-point line and getting the steals for those fast breaks. Now, so obviously the result of the Raptors season wasn't what we wanted, but so obviously we swept the Brooklyn Nets and faced the Boston Celtics in the second round of the NBA playoffs, and we lost in 7 games. It wasn't a blowout or anything, but everyone who watched the games, a 7th game, you never know what's going to happen or who's going to have a great game, but in the end, the Celtics took it, and that wasn't the end that we wanted. This team should have been able to make it to the conference final, and it's nothing against the Boston Celtics. They're a great up-and-coming team, and I know that they've been called an up-and-coming team for years now, but Jason Tatum is looking like the real deal, as he has for a couple of years, but every year he seems to just get better and better, and I think if we made it to the conference finals, it would have been a really nice matchup with the Miami Heat, and I think we would have most likely beat them. It's just because when you look at the whole roster, what we have, it's the Miami Heat have I'd say, a less developed version of our team, and I think it would have been a really close series, and I think Jimmy Butler still would have won games by himself because he's that kind of guy. He gets those clutch shots, and he was even the reason when he went to the finals that it kept it like semi-close, and he one of the games he basically won single-handedly. And he's a very widely respected player, even though it was a pretty quick series for the Lakers. They praised Jimmy Butler, and I think he's just an absolute man on a mission, and I think he wants to be back in the finals next year. And I think that Miami is, again, it's always been a nice free agent destination, obviously because of the weather and everything, but I think because of how well run that organization is. When they have those up years, they go down, have them again, and they can attract free agents. I think they're like one piece away from really challenging whoever comes out of the West. And so my key players who I think really need to have a great year developmentally are as follows. So OG Anunoby, he's been getting better and better every single year, kind of taking like the same path and trajectory that Pascal Siakam took, where every game he was looking better. And even in his first year, I remember watching him, and he just looked ready, and he looked unintimidated. And although in the playoffs and big moments when he had to like cover LeBron, he looked very overmatched, but anyone's going to look overmatched against LeBron. But I think that was a really good experience for him developmentally. But every year following, he's just become more and more comfortable, and hitting those three-point shots are what players have to do these days. He's just becoming the NBA player that I think anyone would want when they drafted him, looking at him saying, here's his potential, and here's what we think his intangibles are, here's how we think he should develop, and he's following that curve, and he's becoming the player that we drafted. The next player is obviously Pascal Siakam. He needs to find consistency, and he is getting better and better every year, but he needs to keep doing that. So next year he needs to be better in ways of efficiency and shot selection, I think. When he has his bad games, it's very obvious that his shot selection sometimes is poor. If the Raptors are down by like 5 or 10, he tries to force some shots. It's not bad when he knows he's better than who he's matched up against, but so he'll go to the basket and he'll be covered and smothered, and sometimes he won't realize a guy's open, and he'll try to force it up, and the guy blocks it, and he's trying to go for the foul, but he sometimes just tries a little too hard in situations where he should be using his teammates a little bit more. So that's like the part of improvement that I want to see in Siakam next year. And the last is Fred VanVleet. He is always impressing me, but he just needs to keep going. He just needs to keep developing, because ultimately, one day, if he is still here, the point guard spot is going to be his. Unless they bring in a pure point guard, he can always be that shooting guard, but he can still run the play. When Lowry is eventually gone, it's going to be his offense to run. And speaking of Fred VanVleet, he's one of the top 2 unrestricted free agents that needs to be signed. Him and Serge Ibaka. Ibaka made it public on social media that he does want to return to the Raptors, and that everything they were talking about was absolute like bull. So him and VanVleet need to be signed before any of this becomes reality, but the likelihood of them being signed and keeping them around is very likely because of the culture that we have and the success that we've had. I'm sure they want another ring. I'm sure they want another chance to go deep in the playoffs, because with this team, it's a guarantee that you're you're, unless injuries and everything, you're going to make the playoffs. You're going to have a really deep roster, and you're going to have a great opportunity to try to go to the finals. Now, on to the future outlook for this team. And so this the offseason right now is going to be one of the shortest offseasons in NBA history, if not the shortest. So this isn't giving them a lot of time, teams around the league, to make decisions about their large free agents. So we don't have a lot of large free agents on our team, but what we're talking about here is Giannis Antetokounmpo. Everyone knows who he is. He's an unrestricted free agent, and he hasn't signed an extension with the Bucks, although the front office wanted to with him all season. And I think he wants to make sure that he's going to get paid and that Milwaukee's the place he wants to be. And none of this has been made really public. There's been no words coming out from either side of like bad things happening. It's just they're trying to stretch it out and get everything figured out that they want. Now, under the $109 million projected salary cap coming up this year, the Bucks can offer Giannis 5 years, $220 million. And that is a lot of money, but is it where he wants to be? And can there be other teams that are willing to offer him more? A lot of people are talking about if the Raptors should continue to aggressively pursue him. And there's one thing that I found most consistent of people's concerns, and is the Raptors' style of play going to suit Giannis? That's a fair question. The Raptors are a very team-oriented team. They run plays for everybody. They isolate. They try to get three-pointers just like any other team in the league. And obviously Giannis is a very efficient scorer, and he wants the ball. But he would be the weakest three-point shooter on our team. Most likely, unless he has like a hot streak or whatever. But what I think about that, I read an article, and that's kind of what the argument was, that he might not fit, and that might be a reason to deter them away. My opinion on this is that a player like Giannis only comes around once every 10, 15 years, maybe. And a player like Giannis, I don't think we've ever seen a player like him before. Just every time someone comes out and they're slightly built different, and he is built different, and the way that he scores, in my opinion, you do everything that you can to get that player on your team. Because I think if you look back and he's winning MVP after MVP after MVP, and he gets on a good team and wins championships, and you missed out on him because you thought your style of play wasn't going to work, I say that unless you try to have him in your system, and you said that you tried, I think that's better than not trying at all and just saying, no, he's not for us. I think it's worth negotiating with him and seeing what he thinks about Toronto and the players and the system. And when I look at the Milwaukee Bucks, they are a similar team to the Toronto Raptors. They have a lot of players that are just there to shoot threes, and that they pick up players that maybe another team didn't want, like a Marc Gasol, and they turn them into effective stretch players. And that's just like what they did with Brook Lopez on the Milwaukee Bucks. I think the Bucks over to the Raptors wouldn't be the hardest thing in the world for a gifted player like Giannis to do. I think he could handle that type of transition, and I think he would thrive in it. And the same questions came up about Kawhi Leonard when he got traded. They said, well, he's going to want the ball. He's going to want the ball. Well, look what happened. He had the ball, and the team thrived around him. So I don't think a superstar coming to Toronto and not matching up with our style is going to be that much of an issue. I think it's more of just an excuse of why he should stick in Milwaukee. But I'm just going to move on now to my predictions. I'm not going to make a prediction on where Giannis is going to land, because any day now they could announce like a supermax extension with him to stay with the Bucks. So I'm just going to say, with this roster that we have, I think we're going to finish second in the East again if Giannis stays put. And I think this team again can make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. I think the Eastern Conference might be their limit. But again, if it goes to a Game 7 or something like that, you can't predict a one-game series at that point. This team just needs to keep going. They have such good chemistry and such good relationships with each other, and they know how to play the game. I don't see a problem them going deep in the playoffs again, catching fire and going on a run. And the Eastern Conference is a little up in the air of who's going to be at the top, because we don't know where Giannis is going to be. And it's basically like with LeBron. Where is he going to be? That's what determines the standings. That's what determines who's going to be good or bad. All right. So again, this was just my first rundown of NBA basketball, and I just wanted again to start with the Raptors. If there are any NBA people watching, I'll be more than glad to talk about teams and players. I'd love to do it, and this will be the first of many. I hope you guys really are enjoying the videos so far. It means a lot to me again. I'm going to say thank you every time to anyone that comes by, subscribes, anyone that's just browsing by. Please consider liking, commenting, and just giving me that feedback that I need just so I can improve my channel and improve the content for you guys. I will be working on an NHL career video today. I won't tell you which one. It could be one of many. And I hope you guys enjoy your day, and I'll see you later.